Brian Buchwald, is the demand actually there?
That's a good question. I'd almost separate the demand from the supply. I do think that there is a demand in China for American goods. We've seen that repeatedly. The question is, where will that supply come from? I do think this conference is great marketing. It's strong politically when you think about Beijing as well as Washington, D.C. and playing to both constituencies. As a matter of practicality, I don't know how many of these small businesses will be successfully selling on Alibaba within the next 2 to 3 years. However, there is certainly a demand by Chinese consumers for foreign goods.
Brian Neider, what do you make of that as an Alibaba investor?
Look, I think that they have to position themselves for the long term, no doubt, right? So maybe within the next 6 or 12 months, they don't have as many US-based sellers selling on their platform, but this is a long-term play. And when we think about modeling out the business and where we get excited is, what could they do over the next 3, 5, 10 years? And so if you look at some of the projections that they made, and many of them were pretty ambitious from their analyst day 2 weeks ago in China, they were talking about doing $1 trillion in gross merchandise value through their platform by the year 2020. That's 3 years from now. And I think that certainly some help that they could get from American suppliers would help them reach that goal. So I become very excited, and I'd agree with my counterpart here that most certainly it might take a little bit of time, but over the long term, I think that this is certainly an opportunity for the company to capitalize upon.
Your counterpart, the other Brian Buchwald, Jack Ma promised he would create 1 million jobs in the U.S. Can he deliver on that promise?
If we're looking at a 100-year time frame, I think he could, Emily. I don't think so over the next 3 to 5 years. I think the math doesn't really work in his favor. That being said, there's a lot of trade that can obviously happen on Taobao and on Tmall. And what Jack is really doing here is he's trying to open up the U.S. market to Alibaba more prodigiously than it has been. He's trying to get the brand in front of more small businesses, but more importantly, he's trying to make it more acceptable in the eyes of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and other groups who have been, to a certain extent, battling out with Alibaba and some of the issues they've had regarding, for instance, counterfeits.